Hi everyone, I have to cover this. It keeps coming up, another psyop. So we see here something happening in the sky, some rippling happening in the sky, and there are these controlled op channels like Stranger Than Fiction that want you to believe that these are some kind of weapons. They're not in fact weapons, they're just what happens when their SpaceX rockets hit the firmament. And the reason why they want you to believe that they're weapons or some kind of futuristic technology is because they don't want you to know what they actually are, because the existence of space is central to their coming fake alien invasion. So if you know that what you're looking at here is actually rockets hitting the firmament, bouncing off of them, and coming back down to our world, you will be destroying their psyop. Here it is again on another channel. I don't think this is a psyop channel, but they call it some kind of orb. But it's, again, you see the splashing of the water. It's really beautiful when it hits the firmament, because the firmament, also called the rakia, is has water above it. By the end of this video, you will understand what our world looks like and what the sky is and how there is no space. In Genesis, God told us that he separated the water above from the water below. So there is water above the firmament. That's why the sky is blue. And here we're going to see what a star really looks like and how close it is. This is footage from an airplane. Camera zooms in on the star, and as you can see, it looks nothing like the whatever Photoshop that you've seen in the past. It looks like it's through water. And here we have a broadcast of the SpaceX launch from December 23rd, 2017. And this was on the West Coast. And this broadcaster, he has no idea what's going on. He's just sort of repeating what he hears. I don't believe he understands that this is a psyop, like most people don't understand, including people who work at NASA. So here we have the rocket is launching, and let's look at it right now, because it's launching at 5:27 and 23 seconds, because it is red. There's no trail. There's no smoke. Okay, it's just going up in the sky, and now you're going to watch it slowly curve. And that's important because it has to pierce water, and you pierce water sideways, as any diver knows. I mean, unless you're from a diving board, but okay, so here it's going up. You see no smoke, you see no trail, and it's orange. Now, when the firmament is made out of plasma, when plasma gets hot, it turns neon colors, blue, purple. You're going to see that. So it's about to hit the plasma, and then I'm going to give you the technology for what they're using and how they're doing it. And I'm going to show you how they fail every time, and they will always fail. Just like the Tower of Babel that they built to try to pierce the firmament, to have their own water supply, and it didn't work, and this is not going to work. And they can't even get through the first layer of the firmament, let alone all of the layers. So here it's about to hit the firmament. And when it hits, you'll see the color change, and suddenly it will look like there's a trail, which the broadcaster thinks is a trail of smoke, but obviously not, because it didn't have smoke before now. So it's hitting the rakia, it's hitting the firmament, and now it's turning, the heat is turning it these plasma colors, and you'll see that it's trying to pierce through. It's really beautiful. This is really beautiful. It's trying to pierce, and it doesn't pierce, so it comes out again, and it's going to try again. And the broadcaster is talking about a second thrust. It's really pathetic, actually. It's sad, and so now it's piercing again. And as you can see, when they zoom in now, you're going to see what that psyop channel tried to pass off as some kind of weird weapon. It's nothing of the sort. It's not even close. So here we see splashing, okay? You see the water. This is water. There's water beyond our sky. That's why it's blue. right? When we were a kid, we were like, why is it blue? That's why. And as you can see here, where it pierced to the right of the rocket's on the left there, where it pierced to the right, ripples. It's rippling. It's rippling because it's water. They are really scared for us to know. So beautiful to know about this, because their whole fake alien invasion doesn't work if there's no space. So they work really hard on pretending there's space. And this broadcaster is baffled right now, and he asks for help in interpreting what this is, and nobody answers. And here we can see the rockets there on the left. So what's happening on the right? It's continuing to ripple. And this rocket will now fall down.
Space travel isn't exactly my line of expertise, so hold on to this shot for as long as you want, but Dave, Rochelle, when you're ready to take it away, please be my guest.
And here's another example. The rockets go up, the rockets go down. Rockets go up, the rockets go down. Every single time, just like that rocket that goes over the Disney castle. All right, so next I'm going to show you the same launch we saw just from the view of a car, watching it in the sky, and you can actually see it a little bit better. And people people on the road crash, as you can see here now, because they don't know what they're looking at. This is all very sad, actually. This is before the crash. They're just watching it, and they can't stop watching it, and it's really breathtaking, and it's really scary. And so, what I'm trying to do is take away the fear, because when you understand something, you're not afraid of it anymore. And I think what's more important here is that when you understand that there's a God above us, right over Polaris, and that he's not letting them leave the world that we live in, and that there are no other worlds, that this is it. It's interdimensional, but there isn't space, and nothing could survive in a vacuum. And we never really thought about it, because they put it in front of us at such a young age, and they put globes everywhere, and we just believed it. And when the lie gets big enough, as Hitler said, at a certain point you believe it, just because it just seems like so well accepted. You can't really get your head around it. But as you can see here, there's the initial hitting of the firmament, and the rocket comes off, and then it goes in again, and just to see what it looks like from the point of view of the people is really beautiful. And even despite the crash that happens, they keep filming, because it's just such an incredible sight to them. And it should be, it's the sight of these tiny enemies of ours, these demons, who are trying to leave this world and fight God, and they can't, and they never will be able to, and they won't win this. And this is a really good way of understanding that, of just seeing how little power they have, and how little they are, and how they don't run this world, and they can't do anything. And they use nuclear weapons in Operation Fishbowl to try to get out of the sky, and they couldn't do it, and they're never going to be able to do it. So, but here you see, because I'm going to explain the technology soon, you see how they try to pierce it where they try to pierce it, and it actually creates like this large splash that then later will go away. But you can see they try to hit it, and then they hit it in that space that looks like a puff right before the big splash. It created this really large splash, and they're using a submarine technology to try to pierce it a second time, because they have to overcome the surface tension of the water. So let's go through now several of the launches and the tech that they use.
but the rockets they launch have to be going at an incredible speed to make it up through the atmosphere to even get to the waters above. And with that speed comes an incredible force. Surface tension and entering the waters above is one main obstacle the controllers have faced over years of trying to enter the water. But it is not the only obstacle.
Suck it, NASA. That's only one. 6 more to go. You ain't never gonna make it. It's impenetrable.
Once they get through, they need a separate propulsion technology to propel the rocket/submarine in a totally different medium. Just like a submissile uses a separate tech when it reaches the air, reverse that, and that is what is necessary to go further towards where they want to go, into the water. So now they need a separate technology that allows them to propel the craft through the waters above. So as I go on in this series, I will continue to break down what you're witnessing when you're watching these SpaceX launches. The only launches we have a full side view from the start Do you really think this puppet who has the time to be on Joe Rogan's show, smoking weed, sounding like a complete putz, runs all these companies and can help them find the exits? The fact that the angle is different each time and the launches look different means they have been trying different technology and different approaches. But they haven't been successful. They are still trying to figure out how to get out. Higher, but it gets repulsed by the flip ring and pushed back down. Though after almost 70 years of trying, they've now been able to get into the waters above, but that's as far as they've been able to go.
So notice what happened here. For thousands and thousands of years, we all knew the world was flat, and it's a circle. So you are going around in a circle, as I'll show you. But suddenly, all of these Freemasons, who worship the sun, created this heliocentric model, and then they had to pretend there was something called space, and there isn't, and it's all just done on TV as they're flashing their devil horn hand signs. And here's the flag of the UN, where you can see what the world really looks like in plain sight. They're making fun of us. There it is. And you can go in a circle, but if you look at the flight patterns, you see that none of the flight patterns that you are told are happening when you're on the plane is the actual route you're taking, not at all. And here it is, absolutely beautiful with Polaris on the top. And let's see how they do it. So remember, everything is done in water, and then they take the lights away and they make it look like space. And when they're in the so-called space station, they just use green screens, and I will show you that too.
It's pretty clear it's all a scam, and let me show you some evidence of that. First off, just remember that they always, 100% of the time, use scuba divers in practice. Well, this isn't logical at all. Since the astronauts will not have any assistance in space if their tethers get caught or they have one of the cables hooked around something that if you yanked or pulled could cause a potential problem, then it would only make sense that if in the few final rounds of practice that they did it without the aid of several scuba divers per astronaut. But nope, as you can see, they are carried around and constantly assisted by the scuba team. Also, since space will be dark, why wouldn't they practice in the pool with the lights off? Well, the obvious answer is because then it would look just like space, and they don't want you seeing that. Here we can see the cameras and lights are again circled in red, and we also see circled in white the sign often given for OK, or as many of us have come to realize, the 666 hand signal. So you can see how these scuba divers act, that they are hiding at the bottom of the pool or making sure to stay out of the way of the astronauts. And so the other day, Antonio Subirats put out a video where he saw a scuba diver in space. Here's the control room, which would never need to be so robust if this were only for practice. These people are practicing live edits, and
they have a green screen in the aqua training tank.
They hide the hell out of that green screen. As a matter of fact, I think it rolls up into a little tube because most of the images where you could get a peek at it are now not so easy to find. They took the money for Hubble. They never built it. They built a dummy model which got showed to the public. The reason for that is because nobody can go above water.
And I mean, this is really getting absurd. This is one of the things that woke me up a few years ago. A quote-unquote astronaut on a spacewalk supposedly began drowning in his mask, and they covered it up with now everyone's going to wear snorkels.
Astronauts doing the spacewalks will now be wearing snorkels after the last astronaut who performed a spacewalk nearly drowned when his helmet filled with water.
Just my gut inside me said, that's my dive buddy, and I should be with my dive buddy. That's my dive buddy, and I should be with my dive buddy.
Snorkel cut from rubber tubing.
This snorkel is now installed inside the suit.
Each of these spacewalks is scheduled for 6.5 hours.
The stars don't change their relative positions. They're fixed, because they're revolving around us just as it appears. Think about it. If we were revolving around the sun, and the sun revolving around the galaxy, and the galaxy revolving around the universe, guess what? All the stars would change their position every single night. You wouldn't be able to catch the same star trails 2 consecutive nights, let alone for hundreds and hundreds of years, not changing positions. If you had those 4 different motions, everything spiraling around each other, you can't have the North Star fixed and all the other stars fixed in their constellations revolving perfect circles around it. Can't happen. You couldn't even have perfect circle star trails. They would be spirals. They would be awkward spirals. They would be like elliptical spirals. So, point is, Earth is not a planet. It's a plane. They just added a T to the end and fooled everyone. And then they started saying, there's 1 septillion other planets too, just like Earth. And then once they got people believing that, now they're saying, and there must be life on some of those. So there's aliens. And now they're preparing you for aliens. That's what's coming next.
Does this look familiar? Yeah, this is where the yin-yang comes from. It's the sun and the moon circling in a circuit over a plane, or planar world, like an airplane goes over a plane, and the sun moves in toward the center and out toward the outside, and those are the seasons. It's a very simple concept. I'm going to show you next how the moon landing was faked. They so-called lost the technology to go to the moon. Makes no sense. The technology to go to the moon never existed. They can't leave the atmosphere, and all they showed us was like a cardboard structure covered in foil. So it's time to wake up.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
Footage. There is no evidence at all of any astronaut making a leap or a jump anywhere near a height commensurate with 1/6G possibilities. But if they were actually simulating EVAs on Earth, they would then need help with their bulky heavyweight suits and backpacks in order to achieve the visual effect of moving around easily in lunar gravity. So enter wire supports. This is a tried and tested way of relieving weight from performers, or even flying an actor. Of course, confirmation that wires were used is in the detail. Here in this Apollo 14 footage, you can see a ping, a momentary glint. And again, run slowly. And once more. There are other examples too. This one is from Apollo 17 during the flag scene. You can see the ping at the top of the frame. In this footage from Apollo 16, we have telltale evidence of a slightly floating or dangling effect at the jump salute location. It's as if the weight is being taken off the astronaut's feet just a second or so too soon. Compare that sequence with an obvious rehearsal rig. The dangling effect is very evident. And here again, from the same mission, Apollo 16, we have an astronaut who is about to get up.
Okay, here we go.
Let me give you a hand, he says.
There goes bag. There goes another bag. Coming.
Look at it again. The astronaut is getting up with the wire taking the weight, relieving him of 5/6 of the Earth's gravity. A magic trick? No, just the help of a wireman. This is a slow-motion jump that would have been seen live on TV. And here it is at normal speed. The well-rehearsed, pre-recorded material was apparently slowed down by 50% when we saw it on TV.
Or background. So just take a look at these clips. As you can clearly see, NASA is using green and blue screen technology to make us believe that these liars or actonauts are actually flying around the Earth in a tin can. By the way, these are just a few examples. There are literally hundreds more to be found. Losing a digital signal or packet loss, jitters, latency, etc. looks like this and usually affects the whole screen, i.e. the whole transmission. As you can see from the clips, with chroma key technology, it's only the actors and props that are affected. The background green screen always stays sharp. The evidence is so overwhelming and the proof is so obvious, even to a child. So my question to NASA and the fanboys is, if you truly are in Earth's orbit, why are you deliberately faking the footage from the ISS?
The pitcher, steroid Santa Claus, kicks and deals. It's a long fly ball going back, and the ball shatters the sky, bringing the ocean itself down into the stadium. Oh, Simpson just broke this dream's reality wide open.
And we were discussing the lie. Everything he was telling me was different from what we were being told was the truth. And at one point I asked him, I said, man, you guys, you lied about a lot, didn't you? And instantly he said, no, we didn't lie about certain things. We lied about everything. None of it was true. I really don't think people realize how deep the lie goes.
Space, the final frontier.
Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement.
The Vector, NASA's official logo. If you've ever looked at NASA's official logo, both their official insignia and their official seal, you'll see that the most prominent object in the seal is a red swooshing object. They call that the chevron or the vector. If you ask NASA's Public Affairs Office, this symbology is featured so heavily in their insignia and seal, they'll give you what really amounts to the standard facile cover story for the unilluminated. They'll tell you that that is a representation of a hypersonic wing design from the 1950s, which was the time the logo was created. Not exactly the case. Someone might want to ask the Russian Federal Space Agency, Roscosmos, that was formed in 1992, why they chose that same logo. And while you're at it, you can go ask the Chinese, who formed their space agency in 1996, why in the world they're using a hypersonic wing design from the 1950s as their official logo. Then you can ask the Japanese, the South Koreans, Taiwanese, Malaysia, Mexico, Iran, all of these countries, even Bulgaria. They all utilize the vector symbology in their space agency logos for their national space agencies. It gets even deeper. You can go look at the individual manned program patches for NASA. The Mercury program, for example, a blatant use of covert symbology. In every logo dealing with the Mercury program, you'll see what looks like a number 7 in their logo. And again, NASA's official story is that they put this number 7 there so that they could pay homage to the original 7 Mercury astronauts. Kind of forgetting the fact that only 6 Mercury astronauts actually flew into space, because number 7 never did. Deke Slayton had a heart problem, so he didn't get to go up. So there were only 6 Mercury astronauts. Yet there's a 7 in every single logo. That's in the official mission or official program insignia for Mercury, as well as the 6 individual mission patches carry this logo. And it carries on to the Space Shuttle program. If you look at the Apollo logo has a big letter A in it. At least that's what they want you to believe, but it's not. Again, that's just a simple way of explaining away the inclusion of this vector symbology in the logo. If you go to the Space Shuttle program, the original Space Shuttle STS program patch is a triangular patch that, again, hides the use of the chevronic vector symbology. And that also goes for many of the STS-specific mission patches. Every single one of the International Space Station expedition patches carry the vector symbology. The Russian Mir Space Station used the vector symbology. That was their official logo. You can even go deeper and look at military-industrial complex companies. Look at the logo on a company like Lockheed Martin, 2 vectors. The X-Prize logo, Ames Research Labs, U.S. Space Command. When you get into the military realm, the United States Space Command, their official logo is the vector symbol. And when you look at the military's individual space-specific programs, all of them deal with vector symbology in their official insignias. And the question really becomes, who or what are these people paying homage to? And the truth, quite frankly, is out of this world.
This painting, entitled The Madonna with Saint Giovannino, was made sometime during the 1400s. The artist's name is not known, but at first glance you can notice a UFO shape in the sky to the right side of the Madonna. If you were to see the original full-size painting, you would see the object clearly. Looking at the enlargement, you can see a man and his dog standing and looking up at the object. However, this painting has something else being depicted. On the left side of the painting, you see the sun and some vector-like objects seemingly flying from or toward the sun. Perhaps this artist was trying to tell us something. In another painting of the Madonna, made by a completely different artist, the unusual patterns of the sun and the vector-like symbols have also been added prominently on the Madonna's quote. You can see the same symbology on this painting as on the one before. This time, however, there is no UFO object to be seen anywhere in the sky. This footage was taken over Mexico City in 2002. There were many other videos and photographs taken of this same type of object, clearly resembling the shapes as seen on the visor of the astronaut, on the moon, and depicted in the 14th century paintings of the Madonna and Child. There is probably a larger story behind the vectors, but it is very unusual this symbology has been adapted by all the United States and foreign space agencies, especially enemies like Iran.
Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. Ground control to Major Tom. 7, 6. Commencing countdown, engines on. 7, 6, 5. Check ignition and may God's love be with you. This is ground control to Major Tom. You've really made the grade, and the papers want to know whose shirts you wear. Now it's time to leave the capsule if you dare. This is Major Tom to ground control. I'm stepping through the door, and I'm floating in a most peculiar way, and the stars look very different today. For here am I sitting in a tin can.